Near the end of the second period, the world begins to be overrun with hereditary evil razors, or hers for short, which until now have had an extremely small chance of being born. Livia Berisol, Rehab Berisol's daughter, entered college when she was 6 and chose to study why hers existed. Her research was very clear. She then began to have the desire to kill someone, so she consulted with this bitch, Seth Twilight, about what she should do. Its advice was clear.
Kill yourself!
But in another world. She began to do that, but realized that if she did, he would take her place on the Ark in the shape of a black box called the Climb One that would leave the world. She passed off the other world version of her, Behemoth Berisol, as her twin, and they left the world along with 70 other people. Not long after, they lost contact with the other boxes and decided to create a new version of mankind and rule them as God. This bitch, who had snuck onto the Climb One, then killed 62 of the crew members and infected the new mankind with her syndrome. Livia then designed the Hellish Yard to remove hers, but it was opposed by Luna Hazuki and Heldigra, who then caused the Climb One to crash, leaving only spirit data of everyone on board. Meanwhile, this bitch had created a highly advanced lab using their most advanced technology, mainly to ensure he had an extra body, but also to store the new mankind. He then infected everyone left on the Ark with her syndrome, sending his spirit data to his spare body. Mankind's rebirth brought around the third period. Livia and Behemoth, wanting bodies, give a fake message to Alice Merry-Go-Round, pretending to be God. A quest then ensued to create the twin dragon gods to save the land, though it really wasn't in need of saving. Alice then placed this bitch in charge of experiments. He began by making illegal clones of himself, but when one became the leader of a criminal organization, he stopped, then continued, just using other people's faces instead. Notable illegal clones include Kirill Clockworker, Meta Salmhofer, and this bitch, Eden the Clockworker, all of whom are hers. He then took Alice away from her son, Adam Moonlit, who was in charge of Project Ma, where he attempted to make Eve Svedz to birth the twin gods. Failing, Adam ran away with Eve and they married in Hell's Forest. This bitch, now in charge of Project Ma, captured Meta Salmhofer, then used her to create the twins, then infected them with her syndrome, because screw logic. This bitch does what this bitch wants, including, during the project, create 7 vessels that have her syndrome, because now inanimate objects can have genetic diseases. These objects are a katana, a glass, a set of 4 mirrors, a clockwork doll, twin blades that will later become scissors, a spoon, and a golden key. He then created a black box that reads your deepest desires and put it into a stuffed red cat. He also creates a boy capable of destroying the world, but he doesn't want to do that, so he just locks it up below the lab. Meta brings her children out of the lab. People find out that this bitch created illegal clones, and he was then kicked out of the project. Eve then finds the 2 children, who she perceives as red fruits, and then is chased by Meta, who she perceives as a bear, until she reaches her little cabin in the woods. Adam greets her by being horrified that she stole 2 children and tells her to return them immediately. She then realizes that she killed Meta. They name the 2 children Hansel and Gretel. Famine strikes! A few years later, something like 10 or 14, Adam and Eve abandon Hansel and Gretel in the middle of Hell's Forest so they can have enough food to eat. However, it doesn't last them very long, and the twins find their way back to the house. Hansel kills Adam and Gretel pushed Eve into her stove, burning her to death. This releases the original sin, which the 2 then split into 7 pieces, conveniently the number of inanimate genetic disease carriers: lust the flower, gluttony the seed, vanity the stone, sloth the wind, envy the spring, greed the soil, and wrath the forest, presumably of Held. Sometimes before then, another project begins. This one takes 4 girls, Milky Eights, a prostitute, Lai Li, the heir to a noble family, this bitch, one of this bitch's legal clones who fell in love with Kirill, supposedly her older brother, and Elika something or other, Kirill's fiance. Kirill has apparently cured himself of being a her, because genetic diseases are curable apparently, and this bitch goes up to him, claiming to also be an illegal clone who has cured himself of her syndrome. This bitch goes up to this bitch and gives her an idea.
Kill everybody in the whole world!
Or at least the other candidates, to make herself the only one, which she does, by pushing, hanging, and stabbing in the back during a hub because her sister-in-law trusted her. Oh look, she was chosen. Fancy that. Livia's fed up with this bitch's bullshit. She calls to Kirill, pretending to be Elika, and tells him to put her corpse in the forbidden device in the center of the temple, called Sin, which is also a black box. He does so with...
What is that? What? What is what?
It's a giant mushroom.
Except for Elika, but she's really Livia and Behemoth, who have forgotten that they're Livia and Behemoth and truly believe that they're Elika. And this bitch for some reason. And this bitch because plot convenience. On a side note, he takes that red cat thing and puts this bitch's soul into it, so she's eternally a red cat. Wants to take revenge on someone she doesn't know is alive. Oh, and Kirill also somehow survived. Heldigra, who is now a tree, tells Elika to collect 7 deadly sins for some reason that is never specified other than plot convenience. She's bored as hell, so she figures why not. Oh, and this bitch has become the demon of wrath for some reason. And remember Rehab Berisol? Yeah, me neither. But apparently she became the demon of envy. Eve is sloth for some reason, even though her actions were very much so not sloth-like, along with most of the other non-important people on the Climb One. On an unrelated note, Kirill became an old man who tried to make the perfect music box but failed miserably. He then died and went on a magical journey back and forth across time to explore the Clockwork Lullaby, a series of songs that have different effects depending on how they're sung, before finally meeting with Elika's soul. I'm not joking. This is the entire plot of the booklet that came with the Clockwork Lullaby CD. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end of the video. If you enjoyed, do be sure to leave a like. This is part 1 of a 4-part series in which I will be explaining the entire Evillious Chronicles in, you guessed it, 5 minutes each video. This part 1, has been from the beginning of time all the way to Kirill's death, the original sin story. Part 2 will be the 7 deadly sins, covering from Irina's roaming of the land aimlessly all the way to Nemesis dealing with Galarian Marlone. Part 3 will be the Four Ends, beginning with Gammon's entering of Evil's forest and going all the way to the splitting of the timeline into 3 separate timelines. Part 4 will be the entire series in 5 minutes, which will be much of a challenge, but I think I can do it. So, if you're looking forward to those parts, do be sure to leave a subscribe and turn on that bell for notifications to know whenever I upload those. As of recording this, I honestly have no idea when those are going to be done, but if you turn on that bell, you will know the instant they are there. So, subscribe, turn on that bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.